Hello everyone, I'm John Lindhot. Today is March 22nd, and I'm going to be showing you how to make and modify animations using the GIMP. I figured the best way to start would be to actually be looking at the anatomy of an animation. The one I have here is actually a very short clip I found on the internet from Arrested Development. It is an archaeological site, and one of the colleagues is too enthusiastic and ruins everything. Now, there isn't actually anything particularly unique about this GIF. It's just like any other GIF you would find on the internet, just like all those GIFs that your students are probably very, very familiar with. But opening it up in the GIMP here, we're actually able to look at it and see how, like, what's working behind a GIF when it operates. I have it open in my basic GIMP window here, and as you can see, watching the other videos, you probably know a lot about layers now. Taking a look here, you can see that essentially each layer in the GIMP forms one frame of the GIF. You can see the person who made these, or perhaps the program they used, automatically labeled them. So we got the background one, which is actually frame 1, and then frame 2, 3, all the way up to 24. So 25 frames in total. One thing you need to notice here is that in brackets, after the title there's a number, 80 ms, 80 milliseconds. Putting it in brackets here actually dictates how long that frame will last. So in this one, because it's an animation, basically you want each frame to be a set amount, so that so after each frame it would flow like a film reel, basically. If you were doing things a little differently, you might want some frames to last longer than the others. So, for example, let's do that. What would be a good one to pick here? Now, it can be hard to see them because they're basically all layered on top of each other. So the GIMP naturally just shows the topmost layer. So this is the frame it's showing. They're all visible, but because they're all opaque, you can't actually see through any of them. So to find a good frame to use, let's make things interesting, and this frame here, frame 15, let's modify it. So instead of being 80 milliseconds, what would be a good number? Let's make it 2000 milliseconds, so 2 seconds. Press enter, confirm it, there we go. Make these all visible again. We don't have to in order for it to animate properly, but just so we got them all there. So now when I play this animation, each frame will be 80 milliseconds, except this one. It'll freeze on this frame for 2 seconds. So let's go try that out. Go into filters here, animation, and playback. It opens up this little window for us here. Press play. Yep, freezes for 2 seconds and goes through again. Quite simple, actually. So at this point, you can probably guess how you could go about creating your own animation, but I'm going to go through the process here so you can find, so anything that could come up and frustrate you, we can go through that right away here. Let's try making one from scratch. Okay, so let's go to File, New. Now there are some templates here we can start off with. I'm just going to start off with something there, 400 by 256 pixels. Yes, that's fine. Put that away, pull this in. Okay, so here we have a blank white background layer. We can draw anything we want on there. What I'm going to do first, though, is I'm going to make some copies of this layer. There. The reason I want to have copies is that I want to make sure that they were all on the same white background for me to use. I don't want any transparent. I found out the problem with having transparent layers when you're making animation. What ends up happening is that everything's visible all at once, and your animation just ends up all garbled together. So you want to make sure each frame is completely solid, completely opaque. Alright. Okay, so time to start drawing. I think I'll draw someone running. Let's try that. So I'm drawing here. Oh, nothing's showing up. Except it is actually. I actually am drawing on the layer I have selected. But unfortunately, all these layers are blocking my view. So I'm going to unclick the view icon there. There we go. Alright, So this is going to be a fairly oddly shaped person, but they will be running. So there, got a simple person, person in quotations there, running. Go to the next layer. In fact, what I'll make it slightly transparent. I can still modify the transparency of like the view a little bit, so I can see where my previous frame was. So I'm going to have this leg a little different, that one a little bent, still have them hunched over, this arm down a little, that arm up a little, there. Because I can make this layer transparent, I can see what the previous one was like, to make sure my animations can flow properly. Okay, I'm just going to pause the video and finish these up, because you don't need to see how to draw a stick man. I'm basically just going to be repeating that process. Alright, I finished making those stick men. Now, while I said I wanted him running, because I'm not an expert animator, we're going to decide this is dancing instead. Alright, so what I'm going to do, go into each layer. I don't need to change the title of it. The title's fine, I'm not going to worry about that, but I will change the amount of milliseconds it's displayed. I'll go with 100 ms, 100 milliseconds. Press enter to confirm it. Let's do that for each one here. So there we go. I just paused the video and sped that up. So I've got them all. All would play at 100 milliseconds here. Now something else I could show you. If it's all going to be the same frame rate for all of them, what you could do is put the time, how long the frame would last in there first, and then click the layer and duplicate it. You know, keep that value in each duplicate. So then we can go to Filters, Animation, Playback, and see what this video actually looks like. That's beautiful. Yeah, and you can go back, change values, maybe have it maybe a half second each. I'm just going to go ahead and pause the video, change. Okay, so just pause the video just so you don't have to watch the boring parts. So at a half second each, let's see how that changes it. That's a little better. Okay, now you don't have to necessarily specify the frame rate in there. If it's going to be the same for all of them, you can actually dictate that when you save the file. So I'm going to show you that here. Let's go to File, Save As. Okay, I'm just saving it on my desktop here. Name the file test1. File type. Make sure it's a GIF here. GIF image. There we go. Save. And as we try to save it here, it asks us some questions. We can flatten the images, where basically it just merges all the layers and just look at the top layer. We don't want that. We want to save as an animation. And so we click Save as Animation, and then it asks us this question here. Should it loop forever, or should it, once it's played the last frame, be finished? Any comments we want to have in there? This is the significant one here. Delay between frames where unspecified. Well, we specified it there as 500 milliseconds. You could change it to be 100 milliseconds between each frame, and it would just put it in there automatically. So if you wanted to make your animation and you just want to focus on drawing, you don't. You could have it automatically save as 100 milliseconds each. Now, I haven't experimented with the other features of that window we just saw there, but we've at least seen the basics there. Alright, so now what can we do knowing how to make animations here? Well, I did actually find on the internet this this comic that actually depicts events in World War II through the use of anthropomorphic nations. And I thought this, while it's quite good in this comic format here, comics like this could be quite easily turned into an animation. It'd be a bit different from the animations we've seen, where they flowed like a video. If we opened up this one and modified it, we'd probably make it more like a very specific way to read the comic. We would dictate how long each frame would last. You'd basically make it like your own little video. The wordy frames, when you paste them into their own layer, you'd have them last longer than the smaller frames here. This here, you could almost make it each its own individual layer, and have them go by rapidly to show tension and drama, like building. One thing I like about this comic is that it functions kind of like an infographic. It basically shows the events of World War II happening, and that's actually quite accurate, but it doesn't overly complicate things, and it's done in a way that it's kind of cute. It is a bit crass, unfortunately, but again, if you're in the GIMP here, you can easily edit out crass words and replace them with, say, a butterfly. Now, again, worried about copyright and stuff, you would have to make sure you have permission from Angus MacLeod before you can use that in your classroom. But it would be a simple comic that you could modify into an animation. Well, that's about it. That's all I really know about animations in the GIMP. The only hard part about animations in the GIMP is just the amount of work you have to put into them in order to make sure they look how you want them to. Alright, if you have any comments or criticism for me, please leave them at my blog at words.usask.ca/jlintott. I'd be happy to hear from you. Alright, well that's all I have for today. Thank you for watching. I tried to close everything dramatically and it didn't even work.